How to play fast single strokes. Short lesson for beginners from a beginner. So let's begin. This video will be divided into sections. If you want to skip to the actual lesson, you can go ahead. But I encourage you to watch till the end since it's a relatively short video. First, if you're a complete beginner, I suggest you to not trying to learn any new techniques, since it can get more complicated for you, and I'm talking complete beginner as you started playing last week. So you want to pick the sticks and play mid-tempo, something like 140, 160 BPM, or even slower. The most important thing is that you feel relaxed at all time. You must not hold the stick hardly so that it doesn't bounce. The stick must bounce always, and this is very important when we want to reach high speeds. Same with the other hand. So play, for example, 140 BPM. Then if it gets too easy to you, reach it to 160. And when you feel comfortable playing 160 BPM, for example, 5 to 10 minutes, that means you're ready to learn more advanced techniques. So now when you're comfortable playing with full wrist motion, you can slowly move the motion to the fingers. And I can demonstrate how that will look at high speeds. For example, I'm using my whole wrist motion like this, and this is only the fingers. As you can see, when I use only the fingers, my wrist stays at the exact same position. This bone here doesn't move at all. So you can tell by that you're playing mostly with fingers. Okay, now let's go to the actual technique, which is most famous as flying fingers. So how to begin learning it? In my opinion, most of the technique came naturally, so I didn't do specific exercises where I used only fingers or something. Of course I did, but not all the time. And I tried to play fast. For example, my limit was 180 BPM. And I tried to play 200 with bursts, for example. And playing that high speeds was very uncomfortable, but at some point I learned it. And even though I was using my whole wrist motion, at some point I was using my fingers as well to move the stick. For techniques like double strokes, you cannot just learn it naturally, at least I can't. Maybe if you can, you're some kind of god. But for other techniques, you need to start from scratch and build the motion correctly. But for the flying fingers, you just need to play with at least tension as possible. One exercise that really helped me, at least at the beginning, was trying to play with only two fingers, like this. It's quite tricky, it's difficult, it's annoying, but it really helps because, as you can see, my wrists don't move at all, and it's only fingers, and actually only the index finger. So if you feel comfortable, for example, playing 120 or 130 BPM, you can add third finger, like this. Then it gets more easy. Then you can add fourth finger. And so on. Until you reach your pinky, obviously. And finally, you want to combine both hands. But before that, you must feel comfortable playing single strokes with the one hand, single strokes with the other hand, for the same amount of time. If you have a weak hand like me, which is my right, I suggest you to spend much more time on it doing the exercises. So for example, if you play 8 notes on the left hand, or your more dominant hand, play double the amount or even triple the amount of notes on the right hand or your weak hand. So yeah, it can look something like this. And so on. Now probably want to apply everything you learned on the practice pad on the actual drum kit. But I forgot to mention something really important about the surface of the practice pad. If it's really bouncy, it will be much easier for you to play on it, obviously, because the stick have much more rebound when you hit it. But on the actual drum kit, most of the time it's not the case anymore. You have toms, which are really low tuned, and they don't have such tension as practice pad or snare. And you have your floor tom here, which is the lowest. So yeah, it will require a bit more power playing on the actual drum kit compared to the practice pad if you have a really bouncy surface like me. So I suggest you take some time, maybe practice for the pad for some days and then try to apply everything on the drum kit. Or maybe do that daily, but don't practice only on the drum pad and forget about the actual drum kit. And if you want to achieve maximum power and speed while you're practicing or playing, I suggest you, instead of playing the snare, to replace it with your fourth tom. Obviously, if you hit it, you don't have such high rebound like the snare or the practice pad, so it will require much more power from your wrist or fingers to initialize a stroke and then the second one, and especially when you play fast. So if you don't have practice pad with zero rebound or very low rebound, I suggest you to practice with the fourth tom. It will really help. So we came to the end of the lesson. Thank you so much if you made it so far. I really appreciate it. Also make sure to comment any suggestion, tips, or anything that's on your head. As I mentioned, I'm still a beginner, so I'm still learning. I'm open for any critiques or anything. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next lesson.